Welcome to my world. Tonight we're on Art Talk number 9, and it is discussion and critique about some artist work that I found, and I think you're going to really find it interesting. Today is July 3rd, and so we are going to be a small group tonight because there are a number of people that are celebrating July 4th, Independence Day in the United States, and they're making lots of chicken and all the things for the next day. So we're going to be smaller, but we're going to have some fun and more interactive tonight since we're small. So welcome, and we'll get started with our critiques. Okay, so this is Art Talk number 9, and I will give you a joke for the day. I think this is a good one. It's one of the better ones, I think.
Yeah.
It's pretty good. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to talk about how we are, how we're going to go about the educational thoughts. And would this go in a show or not? It's more from the topic tonight that we're doing the educational of it. And I'll give you some hints how to go about that. So when we critique, we look into these paintings and why we like them, how we like them, what we don't like, it's not your style, all that. It's a little different when I judge a show. Now, someone unmute and tell me what's the difference between a judge and juried for a show? Judge.
A judge judges the show.
A judge judges the show for awards. Okay.
Yes.
What's a jury?
The jury, when you're juried in, is selecting who's going to be in the show.
Right.
To be judged.
Right. So if it's a show, if there's like 800, I've gotten into shows like there's 800 entries, and they will take maybe 800, they'll take, I usually a 10%. So they would take 80, and then of those 80s, they would go from there. So the 800 that would go in for the entry to the show, the prospectus and everything, they go to the show, the 800, they would choose whatever number fit into the show. Let's say it's 80. And that's juried. Judged is when those 80 are either online or in place in the show, and they will give the prizes for. So I just got in the Idaho Watercolor Society show, and I think can't remember sure, but it's usually around 200 or 300. I can't remember. And I got into the show, which was, I think, 80. I should remember, but I don't remember. And then I won an award, which there were 20 of. So it goes from the large of how many can get into the show, and then what actually hangs at the show, and then down to the number that received an award. The one that the Idaho Watercolor Society, they have that those 20 that received an award will travel the state, and they'll go to 4 different parts of the state. So my painting will be more traveling than I do. But that's the difference between. So when we talk tonight, we're not talking as much about how we're going to jury or judge a show. We're talking about the art and what we think of it. And then I'm going to ask you as best you can. There's no grades here. You don't have to worry. It's a safe place to learn. So I want you to use like artistic language, and I'll give you some clues here of what that is. But instead of saying, oh, it's really pretty, you might say, boy, I really like the way the colors blend. I really like the way that the movement takes my eye through, or I really like it because it's bright. Use words other than, try to be more complex with your words, and don't worry about it. We'll accept it's pretty. Down. You want to learn a little bit maybe about their artistic techniques by your view. You want to know the inspiration that maybe they had for the art. Maybe you think was it out of their head, or maybe you think they saw something. Critical thinking, artistic styles. Maybe you have a personal connection with the art. Like Chris, maybe you love sailing or out in the boat, and so you see a picture of a boat and it draws you in more than a landscape would. That would be a personal connection. Critiquing their work. And we're going to talk about elements and principles of design and composition. So kind of keep that in mind. And then just exploring new perspectives of how you look at work. Okay. So ways to critique or to do the artistic language I just talked about is the elements, principles, composition, or sum. These move around all the place. It could be all kinds of different ones, but the basic ones, or some of the basic ones, are the ones I'm going to talk about. So this is just one of my sheets that I have 3 pages of compositional style. So if you saw a landscape and it was in a 1/3, 2/3 category, it would be 2/3 maybe sky, 1/3 land, or it might be reversed where the sky was small, 1/3, and the body of the painting was 2/3. Or it might be side by side, there's more here and there. So you can see it's a 1/3, 2/3. And here's where if you take both of the axis and you put one across, one horizontal and one vertical, you actually come up with what's a focal point, or a place where those two meet. And here's a little piece that you can see there's 4 basic spots it could be. When you do something like that, it's a really good hot spot to put your focal point or your most important thing that you want to see. So this is one that you're going to see a lot in art. There's horizontal, vertical, pyramid, which would be like the Last Supper, the famous Last Supper. There's symmetrical, asymmetrical, staggered, frame within a frame, cruciform. And a cruciform generally has 4 pieces that hit an edge, which means there could be 2 of the pieces to this edge, none here, 1 there, 1 there. Just 4 pieces get touched. And then there's checkerboard. You don't have to memorize these. Linear banding, horizontal and vertical, shapes within shapes. Bridging, where there's not much but a lower above. Radial, where it spirals out. You can see a flower could do it. Boats coming to a center, floating, cascading down, cantilevered. The golden mean, overall pattern. And then these are just fun ones. If you think of substructures of letters, an L, a Y different ways, T's, C. This X is the same as a cruciform if you're putting it in that position. This would be the same as a frame within a frame, but these are some others. So I'll stop the share for a minute. If you go onto my website and you go to the last menu bar and you go there, you'll see where you can actually download these 3 pages and the next page I'm going to show you, and a color wheel. A lot of things that are free to you that you can just go over there, download them, print them out for you. So I think it would be very helpful for you to have that when you come to these meetings. All right, so here are the elements and principles of design. I'll see, oops, I can't do that. So on this, you can see there's a lot of them: line, shape, form, color, value, texture, space. And then that's the elements. And then how those are put together go into principles. So you might do like a line that does you put a couple lines in there and it makes really good balance. So these work with each other. They kind of intermingle. Movement, rhythm, contrast, emphasis, pattern, unity. These are some of them. Another artist or another book or another place could say these words differently, or a different arrangement of those. But these are the kinds of things we're going to talk about tonight when we talk about an art piece. So like a line could be static, it can be moving, it can be curved. So each of these have different attributes that they can have. Oh, I put that up for you. Okay, so this is the, if you went to the last menu bar, workshop descriptions, and you go down, you would see where it says handouts. You'd slide down and you can print, and you can print a poster for your studio, the composition, color wheel, all the things we just talked about. Also, this creating composition, we did have someone be, they put the 3 pages into one download now. So it looks a little different than that. I just hadn't updated this slide. All right, so our first one that we're going to talk about is the woman with a hat. And you can read a little bit over here if you want to about this piece. But one of the things that I saw that was interesting is this was a gentleman that did a lot of styles. You'll recognize a lot of them with a lot of more design and more graphic look than very inventive. And when you look at the work, you'll just see a wide variety of the work. but he became very famous. One of the things when I was reading through that was interesting was because artists like we are gathering together and learning from each other. They've always done that throughout history. So if you go and look this person up, and I would say, I'm just giving you the art and just a little snippet, but if you look this person up, you'll actually see some of the people that he hung out with them. And one of them is Christian Dior. Well, that sounds pretty famous. And it would be in that same mode of advertising and logos and visual art that this artist had done. So when you look at an artist, take a peek at who they studied with or who they hung out with. So someday that they'll talk to you and say, "Oh yeah, I hung out with Jean and Linda and Becky," and we'll all be famous, and they'll put our names in there and say they hung out with these people. So that's kind of what this is about. All right, so giving some thought to this, their thoughts of what they like, they don't care for, what are their thoughts? Your thoughts. Okay, and I can see you here over to the side. So if you want to unmute when you're ready to speak, say your name, and then we'll just kind of talk about this piece.
Well, Linda, I'll just jump in and say two things.
Okay, first of all, that's Roshi speaking, I believe.
Sorry.
That's okay. Okay, go ahead.
I love the sweeping curvature of the line of the hat and then how it's reflected in the curvature of the palm. I like that movement. It just leads me on a path.
It takes you very quickly on a path. Look at that.
Yeah.
And then takes you back up. Simplicity is much harder than we think. To get that to work, man, that is just, to me, epic. Just amazing. Someone else. And I can call on you. I see your names.
Okay. This is Chris.
Mhm.
I like the fact that there's a mystery to what the hat actually looks like. We know
Yes.
it's a hat, but that's all we know.
So Chris, how can you know so quickly it's a hat? Because there is nothing there for us other than a line.
Well, a line for the brim. I mean, that's my interpretation, and the shadow over her face.
Right. But isn't that amazing? That tells us that?
Yeah.
Okay. Someone else.
So this is Jean.
Okay, Jean.
And I like the fact that there's no outline to her face. Her hand, and well, the lips indicate a face, but her hand is what's creating her chin and her cheek. And
I don't know about you, but I would have filled this in. To get the face curvature from the hand and then leave this open. And we still, our brain still connects it. Good, Jean. What else? Someone else.
This is Susan. The thing that I find interesting, and it's small, but I think the signature down at the bottom, you have that zigzag thing, and then the signature brings you back up into the picture.
Very good. I was hoping somebody would notice that, because if this was horizontal, would it give the same feeling and movement?
No.
Think about it. If this signature were horizontal instead of angled, what do you think? Would it be the same? I mean, it would work, but how much does that signature add to the simplicity and the direction of this?
A lot.
A lot. Okay, now take your hand over this black zigzag before her glove. Put your hand over that. If her glove was floating and didn't have those zigzags, what is it you're missing? If you cover this,
you're missing the body.
You're missing the body. You're missing the arm and the cuff of whatever she's wearing. Isn't that fascinating? Okay, that's David.
Yeah, David here. I was saying that to myself for a while. It's amazing that he got the 3 values in that little bit of drawing there. I thought that was
light, middle, and dark. tones.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
thought that was interesting. And then the red lips really add to the sense of elegance that this model has.
And what is the other thing that besides the elegance, what I think somebody said it earlier, what are some words that would describe the emotional feeling this imagery gives? I'll give you one, mystery. Say again? Class, yes.
Yes.
Classy lady, okay. Does it show any monetary?
Yeah. Or I don't know how you, haute couture.
Oh,
No.
hot couture. Hot
Yeah,
couture.
you know that one. But
Okay.
she looks like somebody, yeah, of class.
You
And it
you
looks
don't
like a
feel like
really big hat.
these are not garden gloves, are they?
No.
You
My
know
Fair
that right
Lady.
away. Okay. So I think these little bits of line, there's something that nobody I think has talked about, and that is this is not a white piece of paper.
Yes, I noticed that.
This is a toned paper. Now think of it if it was bright white like this. Try to imagine if it was bright
Yeah.
white. Is it the same?
No.
Linda, how much does that change it by having a toned paper?
Well, it gives a feeling of elegance, and
Yes.
it affects your mood, because the stark white would just be glaring, but this adds to the mystery and the subtleness of everything. And I like the little line up by the hat. It looks like it's a mistake, but it's really not. It's her
No.
ear
It could be her ear.
or
It
an
could be
earring.
a little thread from the hat. We don't know for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you took the lipstick out, if you put your finger over her lips, then it is not nearly the picture. It doesn't have the mystery or the element of surprise. And whatever you would put in place of it would determine what the picture is about. So if you put a sunflower in where the lips are, it would totally change the painting and not be nearly as wonderful.
Right. And here's another thing about that. If you look at this person's work, and maybe somebody can pronounce the name. I didn't look up how to say it. If one of you knows how to say his name. But the tone of the paper is another thing that I haven't heard mentioned, and that is it
Yeah.
brings her warmth.
Yeah, it
Look
gives
how
her
cold this would be.
a human quality.
It brings a different connotation to that. Okay. Was that an interesting one?
Yeah.
I look up his art. There's some of it I don't care for at all, but this one was so uniquely structured. I wanted you to see that. So give a thought that when you're looking at this kind of thing, what is it that intrigues you with that? Now I'm going to do another one now. I'm going to share the screen. Now this is, again, I'm not going to be able to say the name. I mean, if somebody can read this right here, go right ahead. This gentleman is from Hong Kong. I looked him up. He is, the other person had died in 1950 something. I didn't see it. But this person is still teaching classes. If you want to go over to Hong Kong, he's got classes going. And there are some videos online that show him working. So this would be somebody current day. And I've actually picked a couple of this artist because I wanted you to see, he's very prolific, but I want you to see how you could probably pick up from just the few that I show you that it's the same artist. Now, not everybody can have a body of work that you could go, oh, well, that is Roshi's or that is Jean's. But because we change, like if you looked at the early Picasso and the realism, and then he changed to the more shape pieces and everything, you may not know it's the same artist. But you also, if you study Picasso and you look at his earlier works, you would be able to go back and go, okay, I see Picasso from the beginning and how he changed. So if you follow an artist, there are people that say, Linda, your stuff is totally different, but you've got you in it. And I can still see that. This artist, you're going to be able to see similarity in the pieces that I picked. And I want you to kind of keep that in mind as well. So first of all, it's called Stone House. And I love a lot of his pieces because some of them are creative with their titles, but others are like, okay, this is a stone house, let's call it that. So I think that's kind of good too, because it doesn't, if you become famous enough, then maybe your titles are not as important. The piece that I just had that I won an award in the Idaho Watercolor Society, she actually judged the titles, your description, and the painting. So I don't know if Stonehouse would be real exciting for a total title. All right. So someone say your name and give me some thoughts. Do you like it? What do you see about it? How do you
Linda, this is Chris. I
Chris.
really like it, but you know how sometimes you see something and you can't unsee it?
Yeah.
This is weird. If you look on the left there, there's a tree. And when I first looked at the picture, I thought the tree was down because that thing that looks like a trunk is the roof of the house, but the house is
Oops. Yes.
dark.
Is.
Isn't that, I mean, now I can't unsee it.
And you know, I saw that too, Chris. I saw that too, and I was just going to see if somebody could see it. So basically, it looks like a tree fell on the house, but it's really the roof of the roof like these are. So it would have been very easy to soften that and have it, or maybe have it be a little different value or something. But now you wouldn't want to buy it because you see that.
Exactly. And
Right.
even the shadow, everything comes to a point that looks like the top of the tree.
So Chris, thanks for ruining the picture for us now.
Oh, sorry. You said you saw it.
I did see it. I did see it. I was wondering who else would. So what other things about this? Do you see a skill level here?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes.
Mhm.
It is a watercolor.
Mhm.
Tell me what you see. There was a composition that we talked about that is often. What composition? There's a number of compositions within compositions, but what would you see on this one that might give you a thought of composition?
Well, I think I see a cross. This is Frankie.
Okay, Frankie.
The house going, the building going side to side, and if you stretch it, the tree on that's kind of rightish, going somewhat at an angle toward the middle.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see where I'm talking about? That tree that's kind of, I can't point to it like you can, but
right.
But that center tree then just kind of angling, up toward the tree behind the house.
Okay.
You see where I'm?
Well, you can see my little arrow. Tell me. Well, maybe you can't. Well, you saw
No,
I drew a line in red. So
yeah, I saw the red. I see your hand. I see a hand on your, or maybe that's my hand on a screen. I don't know. Yeah, that's my hand.
My cursor is not showing up very good here. Let me see if this can be undrawn. I think it can.
Well, actually, even almost a triangle, because if you take the tree on the right and the tree on the left and go to the tree in the center top.
Yeah, you could have it be a triangle. I put it here showing that you also could see it as what am I giving you here? What size here?
2/3, 1/3.
Right. So the top is 1/3 and the bottom is 2/3. If you take it here, right here is where I think he put the center of interest. So he's done 1/3, 2/3 with that axis that we talked about. Okay. What else? And like I said, there's very often a design within a design. You know, I should have seen if I can erase on this. Anyway, what else do you see? You can see through my lines.
Linda, this is Susan again. When I first saw it, I didn't like it very well because it seemed like two separate paintings.
It does. It does.
Like the background doesn't seem to belong to the foreground.
It's
Now,
it,
as
if you
I
look
look
here-
more, there's some color up in the hill a little bit that pulls it up, but it just feels weird to me.
So if you look at this, it's integrated here, isn't it?
Right.
Maybe there could have been a little more soft, you know, a few places. But I'll tell you what, I'd be really happy if I painted that.
You know, I didn't have the full picture on my screen. I had it cut off at the top of that top tree.
That would be on your side then.
Yeah, on my side. I didn't realize that, so.
So,
Yeah, I
oh,
like
so
it.
you had a different view. Okay.
Yeah.
So it does divide by the range of values, but it does give you distance, doesn't it? By doing
Yeah.
that.
Yes, David
Okay.
here.
Okay, Devette.
Because the foreground is more clear, and then the farther back, you know, it gets more diffused and stuff. I actually like that because it does give that depth.
And if I were judging this, I might say a little bit of this purple tone could have, see, there is some here. He did put it a number of places. He did, as you look, there's more of it in there than you think. But if you wanted to have them pulled together a little bit here, it really did. And then maybe you could put a little more purple, but I think that it directs you by the way it's done. It brings you here, sweeps you around, the tree brings you up and you can look here, or the tree is angled and it brings you here. Do you see a number of different pathways you can take?
Mhm.
Is there anything that throws you out of the picture? Or do you like kind of wandering around in it?
Yeah. Wandering.
Okay.
Linda, this is Roshi.
Yes.
I'm really quite distracted by the left-hand side dark purples. I mean, it looks like an angry warthog or something. It doesn't seem to me to fit.
Yeah, there's an unintended shape here.
Yeah.
So if you could put and boy, today in the studio, I kept getting an unintended shape. I get birds in my pictures all the time by the way I do things, and I had a few birds going, so I understand how this happens, even with the best of artists. So yeah, so if you had it, if it were a little more bushy in here and not as shaped, that would make you like it better. See, you guys
Yes.
are getting tough. Wow.
Hey, Linda, this is Chris. I don't know why, but that little fence in the front, I think, is so cute.
Yeah, and other people would think it's distracting, but I think it's taking you back into his garden.
Yeah, I mean, there's more detail, but it's sort of like, it just sort of tells a story. It's not all there.
I like what you just said, because I think this is a story. I think this house, this complex, whatever this is, the stone house, I think it's inviting. Does
Yes.
anybody feel that the fence is to keep you out, or do you feel
No.
invited in?
Yes, because it's broken and open.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a path here. There's a path to kind of come through. Okay. Is there anyone that really dislikes this painting as a whole? I guess you'll have to sign up for his class in Hong Kong.
I was going to start with saying I thought it was pretty, but I didn't want to get a bad mark in class.
Okay, what other word?
Well, I
Can
love
you
it. I love
use-
all the colors. I think the colors
Okay.
are just so pleasant, and I can imagine being there.
You can have that. You can sit there with a cup of tea or a cup of hot chocolate.
could.
Really, really nice.
I
And
could very easily.
yeah. So, especially who knows where this is, but you know, he travels. But I would say that there is a mood there. So,
Yes.
so here's the idea. Pretty works, but what's another word you could say? You could say It's beautiful. That's a little bit more
It's inviting. It's warm.
inviting.
clean.
It's
David,
intriguing. What are some other
peaceful.
words?
It's peaceful.
Peaceful,
Inviting.
lighting. Okay. Okay, so you would have only had one little mark for pretty. And the reason I say that is when you're judged in a show sometime and you talk to the juror, it's actually pretty interesting. You'll say, it depends on the juror, but I've heard this a lot through the years, which is just interesting. They'll say, yeah, I didn't put in the pretty little pictures in.
Oh.
And what that juror means is he wanted or she wanted to have something of beauty or something that spoke usually of a story or an emotion or takes you to a place. If it's just well done and pretty, if you're going through 800 images on the computer, you've got to eliminate some, and some of them will be out by that description. Does that make some sense?
Mhm.
So I've just heard that word.
It does. I get it. I was just kind of goofing on this.
No, you should goof off because that's kind of what makes us laugh. We were laughing so hard in my workshop the other day, we decided that I should charge you for therapy. Okay, Chris will probably like this one. And Chris could tell us how realistic. This is the same gentleman that did this one. Okay. How does this feel? What do you see in this that's interesting, or techniques, or something that gives you words? And I see people that haven't said anything. I'll never make you say anything until I know you pretty well, and then I will. So Stan, you're off the hook for a little while. But anybody that wants to say something, Becky, have I heard from you? Becky, why don't you unmute and tell me your thoughts on this?
Well, I was just noticing the movement between and I should know what these terms are because my brother's a sailor, but how the lines are coming down, and then at the base of both boats, those curves bringing back into the center.
It does. This it's not a wake because it's still, but it's the idea of like a wake. Somebody has the right word. But okay, take your hand over this movement right here and just look at the boats. Does that change it dramatically?
Yes.
Yes.
So if those were just colored, take out these little, in your mind, take out these little white bits and the sharp bits, and just think of this as a pool of green. Not the same, is it?
David here. It gives it the motion. Yeah.
It gives it the motion.
And also
is the motion. You actually can feel like these are bobbing, they're kind of movement.
yeah.
It's this is Chris. It's very realistic to where I am right now. I can tell you that. And it does look like bobbing, and it's a really good drawing. Fairly representational, but a little bit of impressionism.
It is, and what's nice for me about it is you know what they are, you feel what it is, but you're not feeling that everything has to be told. I think that we get to have some say in what's there. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So we actually get to kind of discover some things on our own. It's just like the painting that we just saw with the hat. We had to finish the hat. We had to look that the arm was actually the side of the face. Our brains had to do that. In this piece, as realistic-ish as it is, I'm glad it's not pixel perfect, because I think these colors, that is not the real true color of the sky, right?
Right. Or the sea.
Or the sea.
I colored out the white parts on that, and it looks like an ink blob.
Yeah,
it would. Yeah, on my iPad. I'm getting rid of it.
So take a look at it and squint your eyes to see the values. The boats are the white of the paper. This is a watercolor. White of the paper with a little bit of a creamy tone of the different tones out of the water almost, or the opposite. So if you look at the colors that are purple here, the color is all over the place, strategically laid. Where is a hot spot of surprise? Hot
I
might mean
think,
warm.
I think the yellow in the water is a hot
Mhm.
spot of surprise.
So cover that up and see what happens. It's not as dramatic. When you
No,
cover this, you take out the opposite, which is the opposite of yellow on the color wheel, is what?
Purple.
Purple. And even
Or here.
it's not right next to it, but there's some purples in here. You can see them. That makes it even more dramatic having those colors next to it. I
Mhm.
think this was just genius. I
Mhm.
don't know that I would have thought to put these little bit of yellowish, and then that's a pretty bright yellow in the corner. What do we usually say about the corner of a painting?
Pretty much ignore it, keep it simple, quiet.
Don't drop us out of the picture, right? Does this
Right.
drop you out or pull you in?
I
Well,
think
it
pulls
doesn't
you
drop you out. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. It doesn't drop you out, and it balances with that the yellowish up in the right hand corner, the other
There's a
corner.
green yellow up there.
Yeah, and then that goes from that yellow. I love that sky, how he blended
Mm.
those across, because it's the two opposites. I mean,
Mhm.
purple and yellow, and then that blue in the middle, and he kind of does that down here with the same thing. So it kind of like keeps it framed with those.
It does.
What I was thinking is that bright yellow down in that corner, because there's so much purple right above that boat in the center, that's a pretty heavy dose of purple, and that
Yeah.
yellow is what allows it to anchor itself.
It does, and that heavy dose of purple being opposite, it's opposite on the color wheel, but it's actually opposite in the painting, which I find fascinating. White.
Wow.
well, I don't see where you have it.
It laid out well.
Mm. Oh, there it is. Yeah.
It should be there
Beautiful. Yeah.
by now. So that's a black and white high contrast. Here's a low contrast. But even in the low contrast, you can see now. Look what disappeared in the value.
Yeah.
The yellow's gone, and all that top of the purple's gone. So know that when you take to something to black and white or a high contrast, here's a warm, you will actually quite often lose some of the value that you thought was definitely a bright color. It just kind of disappears. So black and whites are not always giving you every clue to what it will be in color of where you should put the different values being light and dark. Okay, let me ask you, where's the signature?
Oh, up in the water on the right hand side. Is it up in the water above? Yeah, right there.
Now, how many of you would be brave enough to put it up in there?
Mhm.
Well, it's good he did that, because it kind of goes with the other squiggly things and stuff. Instead of, it would have really detracted had he put it down in the right hand corner.
If it'd be right here, it'd be hello, here's my signature.
Yeah.
And it
he
wouldn't
did
be as much
smart.
to give that. Okay. I love this. I'm got another one though for you. Any
Linda?
other? Yes.
Yes. I really have been attracted to the red that he put in, because they're just little pops of red, but boy, do they contrast with everything around them.
Yes.
So your eye is drawn to the water, but then bingo, it goes to the red.
It does. So you can come in from here and whip up around here and come over here and up and down and up and down and come back here. I there's a number of ways you could come into the painting. If you can shut your eyes and then look real quick, sometimes you can catch your brain fast enough to know where you came in. It's not easy. Get practicing that. But there are multiple ways that you stay inside this and stay interested. I think this artist did a really good of leaving this white here. It'd be so easy to fill this in with the rest of the background. But by having it white, it keeps all the information here. And if that were all colored in, it's not the same mood. You know, it's just more cheery or more happy, or it's a different emotion. Okay. One more comment from somebody, hopefully from somebody that hasn't mentioned anything yet. I've got a few of you. Unmute and just give a thought.
Reflections pretty well in the water, because I mean, it gives you the idea that it's reflecting the subjects, but then not in a perfect way.
Good. And Stan, you're exactly right. I mean, the reflections are as exciting as the boats to me.
Yes.
Because they are strategically laid out and thoughtfully. And yet I watched this guy and I bet he did it in 2 seconds because of the skill level he's got. But that skill doesn't come by itself. It comes with time. All right, let's look at this one.
Yeah, it adds a lot of depth to the picture.
It does.
A lot of three-dimensionality.
Good thoughts. Good words. Yes. Okay, this is also one of his. Could you tell if you hadn't seen, by seeing his other work, does it give you any indication this could be his? By style or some other way, is there any way that you would go, this might be Frank's?
I don't know.
I think the sky that's peeking through the windows does, and the background to the right of the curtains.
Mm-hmm. He knows how to leave white again.
Yeah.
Look at the white bits.
This is Roche. I think the softness, he has a kind of softness about his paintings.
Mm-hmm. And there's a color we keep seeing coming up.
Yep.
That red draws us in, and it's kind of a surprise here, isn't it?
Yes.
There's a little bit right here. I don't think so much there. And that red against the green that are the complementary colors. When I saw this piece, I was just overwhelmed with emotion because it is, to me, so well done. I study a lot of work, and you can go in here, just see the sitting, and then all of a sudden you start imagining lace or pattern.
Yes.
You know, plants out. Look at these little dots. Is that wallpaper? We don't care, because it gives, and look at the reflection here from maybe the floor. I think this one has a lot to say. Anyone else? Not that I gave any indication that I like it or not.
Well, the use of white lines on the cupboard and
Yes.
right next to it, those are just like his lines in the water. They bring your eyes to it.
Look at this. There's some similarities here. And look at the colors. Okay, yellows and your grays and your purples. Okay, and the greens. Okay, look at that.
And blue.
Red.
Okay, what kind of is this inviting?
Oh,
Yes.
yes.
Okay, overwhelmingly, isn't it?
Yes.
It just says, come on and sit down and have a chat.
Read a
Is
book.
it a period of time? Or is this timeless?
Pretty timeless.
I'd agree.
I'd say it could be in a home today that's a garden, you know, there's a garden outside and it's just a nice place to read, have a cup of tea. I love the sheerness here that shows, see that, you know, that's not a heavy curtain.
Right.
And it's gathered in a way by shape that you can see that these are, to me, you can see these are curtains, but they run right into the rest of everything. You can't see the division between the curtain and the cupboards. They just blend right over.
But
Linda,
look at the
again,
walls.
Linda, he's again used the yellow. If you look right at the right-hand corner of the, yeah, in that curtain,
Mm-hmm.
and that just draws you right to that chair.
It does. And look at the line that does. See this?
Yeah.
So the
There's
other thing, this is Barb, and
Barb.
I could be wrong. I'm not sure if that's his signature, but if it is, it again, he's using his signature as part of the artwork. He's not setting it aside. It's actually incorporated.
Do you think this is it?
I think it, yeah, could be.
I can't pull this up farther in this.
I just blew it up as big as I could. It does not look like a signature.
Yeah, I don't see one here. And you know, the
No.
bad thing is sometimes when they put this stuff out in the public, just like my art, they've got some of my art that's out in the public right now that they cut off the signature.
Mhm.
So I don't know if that's what happened, but yeah, I don't see one. It's under the chair. No.
Behind the curtains.
Linda,
Yes.
it's so subtle. But look at the top of the right hand. Don't and then on the other side of the window, they look like candles in a glass globe. You know, way up here on the right.
On the
Yeah.
right?
You wouldn't normally notice it until you said something about the drapes. And my eye went up and I just thought, oh my gosh.
So the other thing
They're
is
sconces. I don't know the right name for it, but
Oh,
it's a glass
sconce.
enclosed candle kind of gadget. Oh,
in here.
no, up, way up.
Oh,
Take the
a wall
right there,
sconce.
right
Oh.
in there. Yeah.
Oh.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Look at that.
And then go to the opposite side. It's so subtle. Yeah.
And here's the thing too, is you will find in, just like we found the animal in the bush, you know, we saw the shape of an animal. When, I mean, we are not talking to the artist, so we
Right.
do not know a lot of what we're discussing is true what the artist put there. But you, in fact, I was in a group of critiques here recently online, and there was a woman that was like crying because she had her painting get an award in the show, and the juror put this person felt this way. Well, you probably should say the painter, the artist might have had these thoughts. We have no idea. So the way we discuss these is from our viewpoint.
Right.
Maybe, I mean, let's go way out there. Maybe that was his grandma's room and he's like, I'm so tired of this. Let's paint it and get that thing torn apart and get it out of here. we don't know. So when you discuss these, we are giving all of our input, like we were saying, Chris said, oh, that feels like the bobbing of the boat in the water because her experience is right there. So, you know, I've been at shows where I'm standing there, they don't know I'm the artist, and go, oh, you know what she meant to do? You know how she felt? Did you see where she put such and such? And I just want to go, no. So we're discussing and enjoying and taking apart a painting to understand and learn how to do this. So always keep in mind that we're not with the artist and they can't speak for themselves. I love it when, I think it's funny, I should say, I think it's unique when they say, oh, when Claude Monet was doing this particular painting, he was feeling such and such. Well, he's dead. Nobody knows what he was really thinking. So we don't really know. So we're coming up to time already. Can you believe it?
Yeah.
So we'll do a real quick thought here. The next one is going to be August 7th, and we're going to talk about how to stick with the painting. I did put a parentheses on the end of it. How to stick with a painting that fell off right there. Oh, well. I go over these so many times too. And then just to remind you, these are some of the things I do, consults online. I have a full subscription that can take you through critiques like we do this. That is over 60 lessons and over 50 critiques of other artists' work that we have. There's more about it. I'm just going to flip through these. We usually talk about these. Ah, see here? I did stick with it. We got the end of that one. So let me go to you again. I think that's kind of the end. Do remember that this one is a download for you to put into your studio if you're an artist, that you can protect your mess. You can say that's part of the process. Okay, so we've got like 4 minutes. What did you enjoy or learn with our critique tonight? These were different kinds of things. I'm feeling really excited that so many of you have been able to, some of you have been with me for a long time, some of you are new, but you're able to express in a way that we can dig into these and understand either where we're coming from it or what we think the artist intended or an artist skill level. I think these were very high skill level. So thoughts, what did you learn tonight? What did you enjoy? And this would be a short sentence that you can give. So anyone that wants to say that. Roshi.
I was really impressed by how impactful leaving space is.
Could you say that louder to me? Because I have to fill up quite a few spaces sometimes, and I should let them breathe.
I know.
In fact, I'll show a painting. Go ahead, someone else. I successfully did it on this one.
I'll just say the same thing. I agree with what Roshi just said. Leaving space, leaving some white space.
Yeah.
Okay, on that one, I left some space.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
All right, someone else.
It was the use of line in the way of banding on the brim of the hat, and then the shadow, and then on the other 3 paintings,
That'll make
you know,
that
even
pop.
though 2 are landscapes and one's an interior, you saw that banding used vertically or horizontally based on, you know, what was in the picture or how the color was used. And both artists had a limited palette.
Ooh,
Yes.
good. In fact, our first artist, Kathy, had a very limited palette.
Yeah, but really, when you looked at the second artist too, I would say there's, you know, there's combinations of colors, but maybe you could do that with 5 or 6 colors at the most. You know,
And
those
the other
3
thing, Kathy,
paintings.
is our first artist actually used the paper tone as one of the limited.
And then
Yes.
for the first one as well, the red of the lips was a warm red that went with the background color.
Ooh,
It
good.
wouldn't have worked if that red would have been a blue red.
Good.
Right.
Good. That's very good observation. So not only the color that you use, but the essence of the color and what else is in it that would.
First painting looks like Audrey Hepburn, and that would have been in the timeline
It would have.
that he, you know, would be seeing images.
Mm-hmm. And if you look at his images, you're going to recognize the style and the feel of that time, and then how some of those are used on product, and it's a different use of art than the other artist, right? And I'd look up both of them because I think you're going to find pages and pages of screens and screens on your computer of some of the things, and you can look into their background a little bit. Okay. Anyone else? You had really good comments. I was impressed how you really thought about them, because a lot of times we can think about something and then we're just, you know, oh, it's nice and, you know, I enjoy it, but did it make a difference when other people talked about it for you to see things that you didn't catch?
Yes.
Okay, I will let you know in your own art, it's really important for you to have someone you trust to look at your art so that you can see what you want to have removed or changed or softened. There's just little things that you can't see. Like I tell a lot of my art students, you cannot see your art for the first time. So it means after you've got your painting all done, you're already got all this history in there, and you're not able to see the things that everybody else that sees it for the first time does see. So that makes a difference. Okay. So Becky, would you raise your little hand right there? Your real one. Becky got into that show that I just talked about, that I just got into. Congratulations. You got into the
Congratulations.
Art Idaho show.
Yay.
Good job. Okay, so that's the end of our time. I'm going to stop the recording.